Welcome back to Rev University, everybody. Glad you're here. We have a wonderful lunch for you today. I would say better than we've ever had before. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but that's what we're going with because that's how I feel. We have Deonn and Marcus with us here today. Marcus Jones is the founder and president of Miss Essie's Barbecue. Known for their homemade barbecue sauce, Miss Essie's will bring the South to your mouth. Marcus's tenacity makes him a skilled entrepreneur and successful business owner. He is humble, eager to learn, and has the wisdom and experience to recognize when it's time to reinvent something for the better. Deonn Henderson is a versatile entrepreneur with experience in strategic planning, equity and debt fundraising, marketing and business development, corporate finance, deal structuring, and more. As the founder and CEO of Cornerstone Capital, Deonn Henderson is an investor and advisor to several companies. Today, Deonn is here with us as part of Miss Essie's Barbecue. So please give a warm welcome to Deonn and Marcus. There we go. Okay, welcome. Let's just kick things off with the obvious question. Tell us about Miss Essie's Barbecue. Tell us the story behind it, how it came to be.
Sweet. I'll take that. Okay, cool. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Great. Hey, it's good, exciting to be here. Miss Essie's Southern Barbecue came to be in the year of 2002, but legally 3. I graduated from college, and I didn't make it pro. And so I wanted to do something significant with my life. I really wanted to, have something on my own. So I started working at Skybox Sports Bar and Grill, like every college student or graduate does. They go out and get a waitress job or waitering job. And so I was like, this is great, and really got to know the owners and really got to know the head chef. And then I saw, a lot of line cooks cooking barbecue. And it just sparked something in me. I was like, man, this ain't right. Like, I can do this. Like, we have a great product. And it just hit me like, it was one of those things that the idea landed in your lap. God just gave it to you, boom, oh, and you're just like, okay, I get this. Let's go ahead and do this. So I talked to Scott, head chef, and I was like, hey, man, we can make a better barbecue than you all day long. And he was like, no, you can't. I was like, for real, though, we can. And he was like, no, you can't. He was like, no, you can't. And I was like, okay, listen, I'm going to have my dad come out. We're going to fly him out, and we're going to cook barbecue. So the whole weekend, and Scott was like, cool. And so the whole weekend, I was like, Dad, we're going to make barbecue. You're going to cook it. I didn't know how to cook at that time at all. And he was like, okay, we got this. He was like, what they want? Well, you got chicken, we got pork, we got ribs, like we did the whole thing. What'd you say?
I said that sounds like him.
Oh, yes. So we did the whole gamut, of everything, this whole spread. We spent like a lot of money on this stuff. So I'm like, man, we better make this happen. And my dad makes the barbecue sauce, and we present it on that Monday. And I remember I'm nervous. I'm like, because we're going up against like these trained, certified chefs, and they didn't know how to cook barbecue. And I was just like, look, this is it. So we spread it out, and they loved it. Like it was like that deep, dark smoke taste that you want, that flavor, the seasoning, it just hits right? It just like boom, hits all the taste buds. and Scott was like, yo, this is great. We got nothing like this in Salt Lake City. Let's do this. And so he talks to all the owners. We had to go through this whole with owners, everybody's tried barbecue. So we have to prove to them that the product is good. They test it, they freeze it, they refrigerate it for like over 60 days, make sure it don't grow mold on and stuff like that. And we're like, and it passes all the tests. So we're in Skybox Sports Bar and Grill. Our very first big deal, huge. We're like, hey, we going on, we're celebrating. We broke too, by the way. There's no real celebrating. So so we started Miss Essie's Barbecue. We didn't really start Miss Essie's Barbecue, the name. The logo that you see, it's like one of those God sends people your way, just like, hey, we think this would be great. And they send us the logo. I'm like, that's an awesome logo. I didn't know anything about design at the time, nothing. And I was like, I'll take it because I don't have anything. And so my dad was like, yeah, I want to be my mom's name. And I was like, cool, Miss Essie's Barbecue. And then he was like, he had all these cool slogans like, bring the South to your mouth, the meat that needs no teeth. All the cool stuff, right? That's kind of funky at the end of the day. Like, people smile, yeah, okay, bring the South to your mouth. So we're like, great, we'll take it. And people really really gravitated towards the product, the name. And for the longest time, you know, I've had a vision of kind of where I wanted to go. I didn't really want to do a restaurant. We was in a hole in the wall. We had a horrible place. I mean, you want to talk about it wasn't low budget. It was no budget. We were under budget, dog. We had no kind of funding. And so I really wanted to elevate our company in one way or another. So for me, I really had to dive into bookkeeping. You know, I self-taught myself QuickBooks. And from there, I self-taught myself on some kind of budgeting. Like, hey, man, if we do this over here and we save this amount, we got this, we can still pay our bills, we can pay rent and whatnot, take some kind of check, and we can go out and buy some equipment. So we really started to really kind of, well, I did. I really started kind of slowly launching this plane, you know, off the airport, off the runway, but it wasn't lifting, you know. It was like the plane, the wheel was barely coming off that road. So around I want to say 14? 2000. I love the way the other 2004. So 2004, I said, Deonn, I see you doing your thing out there, man. I need your help because I see this thing bigger and I know we can take it further, but I just don't have the certain keys that you have, the knowledge that you have to take this thing where it needs to be. Because Deonn, he had everything was sexy. I mean, it was on point. It was just on another level. It was like you walk, you know how you walk in certain places and everything just, it's in the right place, right? It looks right. It smells right. It is right. You got the right people. You got sexy people walking through the building. You got like smart people walking through the building. And here my thing, like blah, right? So I'm sitting there like, man, I need your help. And Deonn, you know, Deonn, in his fashion, yeah, we gonna. He starts speaking like science to me, like, but it's business talk, you know, because when look, man, I graduated in exercise science, like, and I played football. Like, there's only like a couple words, you know. I want to eat. I'm hungry. You know, I need to sleep and work out. So it really like Deonn's over talking about, yeah, we want to go to the ROI and the debit, the EBITDA and the total investment. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, I'm gonna come in at this percent, and I'm like, oh Jesus, I just gave away my whole business to Satan. You know what I'm saying? so I'm like, so it took a long time for me to grasp this dude was really trying to help us, and so in Miss Essie's didn't, in my professional opinion of 44 years of being on the earth, and not a very long professional business owner, but in my professional humble opinion, the company didn't really start until 2017. Because me and my dad, we took it for so long, we only knew what we knew, right? And so in 2017, I had quit Costco. So I was working Costco, you know. Am I okay?
You're doing great.
Okay, great. So I'm trying to speed talk here.
You're doing great.
Okay. So in 2017, it was one of those things where when I quit Costco, I was like, man, I think I hit 40. No, wait, 2017. 2022? Somebody do the math for me. 22, 2017? So yeah, 4 years, 5 years? Okay, perfect. Trust me, y'all, I struggled in college. So, anywho, I knew I was 40. I was like, bro, I'm gonna be 41 next year. Then the years are just flying now because it is what it is. It's life. And I really started honing in on the business aspect of Miss Essie's Barbecue, the branding, having him being more open to Deonn, being more open to the ability to create more than just a barbecue business.
Yeah, would you dive into that more? I'm so curious as to how this relationship developed through this partnership from the beginning stages of, I feel like both of you probably had a learning curve a little bit. Did you have experience in the restaurant business at all?
I did. So at the time when Marcus first contacted me, I was probably still the CIO for the National Security and Space Office. So my background is in intelligence. And At that time, I was just helping him out. But while I was in that field, I was consulting to hospitality owners. So I think I had it already in 2009. I had invested in my first restaurant called Red Line on 7th and G in Washington, D.C. And so when we started having this conversation and Marcus needed this help, the reason why he reached out was because he's known me since high school. That's how we know each other. We went to high school. Marcus was this sheltered kid, you know, and I'm just kind of able to run around. I was always getting in trouble, and Marcus was always, you know.
I was a Christian.
But that was how we met each other. Was we met each other from high school, and that kind of really started our relationship. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So then talk to me about when you started going into business together, what bumps, or I guess, what rocky roads did you have to work through together to create a working partnership that had a good balance?
Let me start off on that one, Marcus. Is that okay? All right. So when I first met Marcus and I was sitting down having a conversation with him, I was like, where are your contracts? Like, how are you guys doing that? Let me see your contracts. Let me see your books. Marcus was like, contracts? I don't read no contracts. Contracts. So just starting out, that was how we started, was just really doing an evaluation of the business. What you see today of Miss Essie's, the first thing I did is I was like, we got to rebrand it. The next thing that I did probably in tandem was I renegotiated all of their contracts. We got contracts, and then we started looking at their books. And this is about around 2014 when I really started looking at them. Up until that point, I was loosely connected. I would finance purchase orders. 2014 was when I really started putting money into the business to help them grow. In fact, in 2015, we bought a significant portion of another business in Utah. And so some of the learning lessons and things that we were doing was just cleaning up the business. A lot of companies, their biggest problem is their back office. It's a mess. And so you got a lot of companies that are out there doing the work. Marcus and his father, they're doing the work. They're doing the business. They're cooking barbecue sauce. They're providing meals for people. They're making barbecue sauce. But that back office, you know, that's good enough to hit that 100,000, hit that 200,000 just by doing the work. But then what happens at that $200,000, $100,000 mark is a company says, hey, we want to scale you. Scale requires turning over paperwork, requires banking, it requires investors. It's a different business. And that's the part where Miss Essie's was stifled. So a lot of our learning was cleaning up bad business, creating new processes, and understanding the landscape that we're in today. Marcus, at this point where we're at right now, if I don't get something done, either he's going to get it done himself or he's going to try. There's no contract that Marcus is not reading. Matter of fact, contracts that I hope that he's not looking at because I know how he's going to feel about it. He's asking me, hey, so I saw that you did X, Y, and Z. So, you know, that's a transition that we had to go through, as well as learning to build a team, understanding the market that we're in. 4 pillars that we talk about all the time: industry, demographic, the politics that affect us, and what are we doing to make it transactional. That's how we start our conversations when we're looking at things.
And you focus heavily on bankability, yes?
Yes.
Talk to me about bankability and getting Miss Essie's to that point.
Ooh. Well, I will say this. It's expensive because I was financing a lot of Miss Essie's. And we had along the way a lot of really good people that also poured into Miss Essie's. But being bankable, you can't run a business on just cash flow because you can only do what you make, right? You can only spend what you make, which means that your run rate is just so small. You need to be able to be bankable and get OPM. You need other people's money so that you can use that to build infrastructure, secure your business, while at the same time using money to grow the additional money. So one of the things that I realized is I understand this, right? I get this part of the business. Marcus, on the other end, he's a master at something different. So one of the things that we did is I went through the Goldman Sachs program because I had saw that Marcus had initiated going through it, and he was just like, I'm too busy. And I was like, no.
No, they shut me down. They saw my acumen in business, and nah, bro, you ain't ready for this. I was hurt.
That's how he feels. But Goldman Sachs realized that they were like, you are at a place in your business where this is a very demanding course, and it doesn't look like you would be able to succeed in this. So I went through it. And they wouldn't take me at first because they're like, you don't look like you need this. And I was like, I do. Please don't do that to us. And going through that Goldman Sachs program gave us a platform that allowed Marcus and I to relate in regards to the lessons that were being learned. I recorded every aspect of it. We killed it. We were the speaker for the entire cohort. But what that did was it taught us some of the business practices, and it allowed Marcus to run a course along with me to catch up so that we were more equally yoked in our business practices. We were able to speak similar language. And in turn, I've always been willing to see the other side for Marcus. And, hey, let's walk through our process in the kitchen. Let's walk through our production. Let's walk through all of that so that the way we operate is everything is about primary, alternate. Right? And then what's our coup plan? But between him and I, we are primary and alternate. There is no one component that gets done. Even though he's the person that set this catering up, if Marcus called me and he's like, hey, I need you to get this done, that can still happen. So.
I know Miss Essie's also has kind of gone through a lot of pivots or transitions from a food services company to a restaurant and now a food production company. Yes? Talk to me about those pivots. What did that look like, and what led you to landing on food production?
I think anybody starting out in business or trying to start a company or run a company, unless you're like a seasoned business person, you just know what the heck you want to do, right? And you just had, boom, it just comes to fruition, like it's in there. But not for me. I was like, well, we're gonna run a restaurant, and where we ran the restaurant, it was horrible. You had it was like abandoned cars everywhere. You couldn't walk up to the doorstep, and it was like dog crap over it. It was just horrible. And I was like, I can't, fathom being in a restaurant here. So we're not doing a restaurant. The food service thing, we're gonna do that because that to me was the simplest thing, especially somebody young and new in entrepreneurship. It was the simplest thing to making a good check, and I didn't have to. All we had to do was cook the stuff, get it to cool down the temperature, and ship it out. Right? That's boom. 3 things. I'm good with that. I taught me in football, what's the easiest way to the end zone? You just run straight, and that's what I did. So it was no brainer for me. So food service was the thing. So food service, for anybody who doesn't know, we you bring product in, you cook it, and you have the government come in. They say, well, this is temperature just correctly at 165 degrees, or if it doesn't, they reject it. You can't ship it out, and so you have relationships with clients like Cisco and Nicholas and these big customers that they can sell your product to restaurants, and so that was very great. Amazing to me that, listen, we can touch people and touch, they can eat our food. Now, with Deonn come into the board, but they don't know your name. Like, who don't know my name? They know my name. No, they don't. The chefs know your name. No, the chef knows my name, and the customer know my name. How do they know your name, Marcus? You have a good point there, Deonn. They don't know my name because at the end of the day, the person eating the food at the restaurant, they don't know it's Miss Essie's barbecue, right? That's why when people say, oh, this product is so good, how long have you guys been out? Oh, for years. Oh, I've never heard of you guys. Well, because we've been in food service for over a decade, right? So Deonn really got us thinking about retail, helping us go into the grocery store, going into prepackaged foods, things of that nature. So that's how we landed where we landed.
I'll just say one thing to that. They started out doing catering, which is what they were doing at the Skybox. They went into retail. Retail is highly expensive. You got to pay for placement. You got to pay for shipping. It's a whole production in retail. Wholesale is a little bit easier because although you don't get the face-to-face interaction, you cook the product. The wholesale distribution comes and picks it up. You get paid. Retail, you got to do demos. There's a whole nother business, and it's expensive. So they stopped doing retail for a period. And when we picked up retail, we had a catering business, and I'll say this in a second, but we had a catering business already going. We had wholesale distribution. We went back into retail, and our next component is consumer packed goods. Consumer packed goods is like when you go to Target and you buy a 3 or a 12 pack, like mini Miss Essie's pies or something like that, and they're like a 1 or a 3 ounce. That's consumer packed goods. Our verticals, those are our verticals, is wholesale, retail, consumer packed goods, and catering are our 4 verticals that we operate, our revenue sources.
So you mentioned you started having these contracts with large companies such as Cisco. Talk to me about when those contracts started coming in. What did you feel like you were prepared for, and what did you wish you were more prepared for these large contracts?
So our first thing was barbecue sauce, going into Nicholas and Cisco. So Nicholas was our, they really supported us, they're a family company, and they really support local small companies. And so they literally took us by the hand and force-fed us, like, this is what you need to be doing. And sometimes it wasn't pleasant, So what that looks like is we started with the barbecue sauce, and we literally got a big old pot. I think you're asking about the process of how okay. So we literally got a big old pot and got our ingredients from the grocery store. And my dad, look, bless this man's heart. He was all about the labor stuff. We just gonna get in there, we're gonna do it, boy. We just gonna knock it out. It's just like, okay, you do that. And so he would get this, we would have this giant pot like this, like, yay, and we would dump all this stuff in there. And he would just try to mix, and this pot was like, the product weighed like, once you get it all in, it's like 250 pounds, 300 pounds of material. And he lit, like, my dad's huge. He's like just starting, just gonna get it done. The Lord's gonna bless us, and we gonna knock this out. And I'm like, man, we gotta make this easier, because there's no way in God's green earth I'm gonna be doing it at his age. No way. So I got the big pot, I got some blend sticks. That was so much easier. These things just whip it up, like these long sticks, they blend it up and call it a day. And then so we manufactured the pot to make it fit what we needed. So I was looking at these production magazines. I was like, I need that. Can't afford it, but I need it. So we drilled holes in the pot. We bought like a $500 stainless steel nozzle. This sucker was amazing. It looked like spaceship type. You're like, oh, this is sexy, right? On this big old pot. You got the food grade hose, and then we would just like let it gravity fed. And now today, and we still do this process today, and I'm like, Lord, please let us get us a different process, because I'm tired of this one. So we cook right now, we cook everything in a 40-gallon kettle. Right. It seems big.
Thank you. We are no longer stirring in sticks. We have a kettle. That's what people cook barbecue sauce in, is a kettle.
Yeah, I was like, it's all about how it look, Marcus. How it looks. Say the right words.
That PR nightmare. We have a kettle and a co-packer.
So now we do our 1 gallons in house. Co-packing, we outsource that for co-packing our retail stuff. But in house, we had to get smart. Like, if we're going to be creating 1,000-gallon batches, or out of a 40-gallon kettle, a lot of math had to go into that. I had to get smart real quick. So what did I do when you get smart? You go to the smartest person you know. And I went to my buddy Chris, who's like an engineer, who's super smart, who knows this stuff. He was like, Marcus, all you do is this, this, and this. And another guy who's an engineer, and I'm not afraid to ask for help. Like, I was the king in class. Yo, let me see your paperwork. I one time, real quick, off subject, teacher was like, hey, did you cheat on this test? Because your answer, I wrote, hey, can you help me on my paperwork? And the teacher was like, she just started laughing. She was like, don't worry about it, you're good. So that's offset. Oh, so I get surrounded by smart people. And I learn really fast, and they tell me what to do, and I do it, because it's for the best of my ability to grow, number one, but also I need to learn how to do it by myself at some point. So we got a 40-gallon kettle, We built a whole pump system, and it pumps everything, and it's all automated up until you get to the gravity fed part, because that's just a spigot on and off type thing.
Can I
Sure.
sum that with the technical side of it?
Sure, absolutely.
This happens all the time. You guys should see us when we're in a meeting. So what he said, Marcus, is this.
Well, I want to give the people who, if anybody is in food service and they're looking at this, the story part of it is great. But what we end up doing is formulation is what it's called. And formulation is actually a science. What Chris allowed us to do was to say, hey, while you guys cook, what's your end goal? Like right now, you got to know these metrics. Our facility, as it is right now, we can cook 60 gallons of barbecue sauce. We break that down as to what we can do on a weekly basis. We break that down into cost. We break that down into a recipe that spits out information as to how much ingredients you're going to need, what the cost is on that, what your labor is going to end up being. And that allows us to determine the utilization on our equipment. That allows us to make decisions as to whether or not we're going to do it in-house or whether or not we're going to send it out to a co-packer. So right now, the reason why we cook anything in-house is because right now it's about $4.04 a bottle for us to do gallons outside, sending it to a co-packer. It's half of that. It's a fraction of it. It's $1.25 for us to do it in-house. Whereas it's 89 cents for us to do each 16-ounce gallon, each 16-ounce bottle. So we send that out to a co-packer because we can still hit our margins on that. And so that process that you go through of being a manufacturer of like barbecue sauces or really anything is really focusing on your yield. And it's a science. When you cook meat, there's a burn rate on that meat. That same piece of meat that you cooked starting out is not going to weigh the same once it's cooked. When you cook barbecue sauce, hot expands. So when you fill your bottles up, understand that. If you don't understand that, you're going to put bottles on the shelf. They're going to have these plastic caps on them, and they're going to be your barbecue sauce is going to be halfway through the bottle because you didn't understand those capacities and your heating and cooling. So there is a science. That's one of the biggest changes in our business as of late is that we don't just cook barbecue sauce. There's a science to it. Not only that, the ingredients. You know, when you first start, you're like, put some ketchup in there, put a little of this in there. It's a 100-year-old recipe. That recipe has to be re-engineered. You've got your regular general recipe, and then you've got clean labels. That's how we got into Whole Foods. We had to re-engineer our sauces to be able to be a clean label so that it's all natural or so that it's gluten-free or no fructose. Those are some of the things. And I want to make sure that for those that are listening to this from the technical standpoint of understanding what this type of production looks like, that we're kind of giving you some of those jewels as well.
Yeah. When we spoke earlier, and you even mentioned it in this conversation, that Marcus has a set of traits and characteristics that are very unique and serve as strengths in the business world and as an entrepreneur. And one of those is likability, which we see trickle through the brand and the product and the team and all aspects of the business. So talk to me about why likability is such a crucial characteristic for entrepreneurs.
Yes. Marcus walks into a room, people like him. Regardless of if I'm well-spoken and I dress up, Marcus can show up however he shows up, and that's what it is, right? That's just something it's a gift. For me, I didn't know how to ask. Marcus taught me how to ask for help. For me, I felt like I had to be in such a position to where I could do it myself. And if I couldn't figure it out, then it didn't get done because asking was a sign of weakness. Marcus will ask for help. I don't know. Well, we need to figure it out. No, we not figuring anything out. We gonna go ask. And to be honest with you, that's that. You know, in my other businesses, this happened recently, and I was raising capital for a project that I was doing, and Marcus saw this on me. And so in the middle of our day, we got production, we got all kinds of things. Marcus saw that because we're talking on Zoom. I live in Washington, D.C., and he sat on Zoom for 8 to 9 hours with me, and he called everybody he knew, and he helped me get my project done. It's in a skill set. Raising capital is not what Marcus does, but that day he did that. Likability has a lot to be able to do that. You know, people like Marcus, people trust Marcus. He's vulnerable. Vulnerability is a part of business that is quintessential. because it shows integrity, it shows honesty, it equates to likability.
I love that. I love that. As we spoke on the phone, what was really cool to me about the entrepreneurial journey that you've both taken is that you both have a passion for reinventing yourself for the benefit of you as an individual, your people, your friends, close family, but also for your business. So can you two talk to me about reinventing yourself and how it benefits, where it benefits? There's so many areas. You can cover whatever you would like.
Restate that one more time.
Sure.
I got it, but I didn't.
Reinventing yourself. Talk to me about some reinventing that you personally went through and that you did as an entrepreneur, as yourself, and also how did that benefit Miss Essie's as a result?
For me, I think humbling myself. You know, when you're a middle-aged man or an adult, you go through life and things don't happen as fast or as quickly as you really want them to happen. And you know, you hear the comments or you hear the negative talk and you hear the backlash, you know, and just the self-doubt starts to just, man, it's like a cloud, just boom, hit your shoulders, your chest, and next thing you know, you just like, how did I get here? And so for me, it was a lot of humbling. I had to lower my pride because I did have a lot of pride. I was very angry I'm still angry, but it's like kind of, you know, I suppressed it with the Holy Ghost and the Spirit. You know, we're gonna suppress that. We're gonna let it, you know. So, but you know, you really have to, in order for you to grow, for myself to grow, I had to let a lot of anger and frustration and it just things that had happened to me in the past, I had to really let it go. I think I did like 100% of the recruiting on our business, other than the CPA and stuff like that. I was mad at the bookkeeper. I hated Deonn. I hated I hated who else did I hate? I hated a lot of people because I felt like, you know, here I am. I'm like the owner of the company. I can't. I'm giving my life away from. I'm victimized by my own company. That's the way I feel, right? Not the same it's happening. And I got Deonn in my ear. You can't spend no money, Marcus. You can't. No, we got this over here. Remember, this is the plan. Stick with the plan. This is what we got to do. I got my bookkeeper who I brought on, who we go to church together. Nope, can't spend no money, Marcus. Nothing. No, don't look at it. Don't touch it. And if you touch it, you're gonna be an elephant in the room come Wednesday morning. Account. Huh? At 5 a.m. Yep, 5 a.m. And I got Deonn looking at me. And normal time I just did it because I was angry. And I touched that account. And I was like, I'm gonna get myself something nice because I ain't nobody. They don't care about me. So to answer that question, like you got to take yourself out of the picture. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you're really trying to grow something of significance in your life, you have to humble yourself, and there is a certain amount of sacrifice. Like I feel like I gave my soul over to this business for some time. I'm like, dog, I don't want to do all this, you know. And you have to take a hard look in the mirror. Are you going to be able to do this? Do you want to keep going on? Can you get through the next day? Can you work through today? So, damn. Almost got me. Actually, it did get me. But, I'm trying to breathe, but I can't because I want to cry. But I think, yeah, thank you. I think the process, It's either going to make you or break you. I'm not going to let this process break me. I really wanted to do and be the best. I don't even know why I'm crying right now, but I am. Be the best version of me going forward, right? That's in catering. That's in being a father. That's in being a business partner. That is being a good friend. That is being the best Christian I can be. Because right now, the world is on my shoulders and on his shoulders. And we feel it. So you got to let go of the pride. You got to let go of the be humble. You got to be willing to change and go out and do and keep doing the work till you make it.
That is being an entrepreneur, okay? That is every bit of being an entrepreneur, because there are times where no one understands what you're going through, but it's all on your shoulders, and it feels like it's you against the world. That's also likability, right? That vulnerability. Reinventing means a lot to a lot of different people, whether you change your business model, whether you change yourself, whether it's like you and Marcus, me and Marcus, where we start days where we pray together, where we change the way that we operate. A big part of what you just saw is there was a transition of mindset in our business. How do we go from $100 per transaction to $1,000 per transaction, and 1,000 to 10,000? That process hurts, and you have to change and you have to grow in order to facilitate that. You have to. So for Marcus, when he's looking at something where he's like, I've been doing this for years and it's been working, why all of a sudden am I being punished for doing the same exact thing that I've been doing? And it's because that growth requires that. And it's both of us. But that's just the reality of being in business. And anybody that tells you anything different, they say being an entrepreneur is the same thing to insanity, because we believe that doing the same thing, that we have what everybody else wants and needs. That's what us as entrepreneurs tell ourselves. And it's the same definition almost of insanity, of doing the same thing. The only thing you got to change as an entrepreneur is you got to change your end result and not keep doing the same thing over and over again to the same result.
I love that. We're going to open it up for audience questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand. We will run a microphone to you.
There's a gentleman right here. And I have prizes. I have gifts.
Oh, yes, I totally forgot. Thank you for reminding us.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Are we on TV right now? We're not on TV, right?
Thank you.
Okay.
On YouTube.
Oh,
Can you hear me okay?
I mean, they got to subscribe to it to get to me crying. All right.
So I find to truly know other people, it helps to know their religious traditions, and both of you have made repeated references to kind of religious stuff. I'm wondering if you're willing to share what tradition you grew up in and what tradition you're in now.
Yeah, I'm your 20th century Christian. You know, go to non-denominational church. Grew up in the church. Yeah, so.
And that's both of us, Christian as well. Grew up in a Pentecostal Baptist. I would say more so Baptist now. But yeah, that is the foundational bond between us is our Christian faith.
Thanks for sharing, guys. I really respect what y'all are doing in your life and the sacrifices that it takes. I'm fortunate enough to work with my wife on what we're doing in the company that we're working with. So that makes work-life balance a lot easier, but also changes that dynamic. How have both of you guys worked with balancing your life and with everything that you want to put in. You mentioned Christianity, father, business owner, friend, all these things, all these aspects. And what has helped you throughout the years balance that to where you want it to be?
Let me get that. There are times where my wife does not like me. It's flat out. But one of the things is that we have to do as individuals, whether you be a woman entrepreneur, a man entrepreneur, is you have to establish your purpose. What is your purpose? Is it SMART? The acronym of SMART. Is it sustainable? Is it measurable? Is it accountable? Is it, what is the relevant? And is it timely? You have to be able to make smart decisions. The way that we balance it is that I ask my wife permission. Hey, we are going to go on this journey. Do I have your support? And that journey is not going to be easy. And it's about balance, right? There's times where my wife is not happy because there's things that she wants to do. We don't go on vacation without there being some type of Wi-Fi capability, because I would probably break out in hives. But that's a period. So it ends up being about balance, because that's unfair to the family. I learned that during the pandemic. The pandemic, aside from those who lost, it was a curse, and it was one of the most beautiful things that's ever happened, because the pandemic stopped things so much that allowed you. I woke up one day and I was like, man, my phone is not ringing. I have no need to run to my email. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to read a book in the middle of the day. And so I think it's about finding that balance, and it's about setting your boundaries. That's one of the things that me and Marcus have done really well at this point, is that we have set our boundaries in regards to how we operate. Marcus may call me with the whole world, but if it's 6:30 and he hears those kids in the back, he already knows that I was probably working all day, and he knows probably after they go to bed, I'll still be working. So his response is, I'm gonna call you back. So.
For me, I ran myself ragged. Like, literally, there was no balance. I'm on the ground. I'm the workhorse, and physically, and so it was just come into the office at 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning and just go. And 2-3 years, I was like, I'm done with that. If the order doesn't go out, I'm gonna reschedule that sucker. If somebody doesn't like, other than catering, you can't do that on catering. You can't reschedule catering. But I literally now it's 5 o'clock, 6 p.m. I'm done. Like, there's no meetings. Like, I don't want to talk about it. Deonn gets upset with me. He's like, bro, we just need to go over it. No, I'm ready to leave. Like I'm ready to fight him if we don't leave, because I've exhausted myself and I've worked so hard to get to this point. I really don't want to start. Now, there's certain times where I have to sacrifice, but I make sure I have a schedule. So
that our orders are on time now.
Yeah. So to the point of my thing is, I make sure I have a schedule so I don't run myself ragged. We hired an assistant. She's amazing, and I just dumped my whole world on her, and she was like, "Oh, great, we're gonna highlight. This is in red, this is in yellow, this is in blue. Now, when you get the red, this is what you got. It's amazing." So it's really.
He has a personal assistant. He has a personal assistant.
Yes.
Okay, I've got a question over here. First of all, thank you. You two make a fabulous team. You're inspiring, great story. It's been really fun to listen to you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
The food industry kind of has a reputation of being one that you got to be crazy. You're going to work incredibly early and late hours. Margins are not great. Is that a fair representation? And how did you figure out how to make this work? I mean, what are the keys to success in the food industry?
So one of the things that we have done, right, is a lot of money went to labor. A lot of money went to labor. If you do not control your labor, you will always bleed. So what we did is we changed our manufacturing and production to a 2-on, 2-off, which means that we produce barbecue sauce 2 weeks out of the month. We produce meat products 2 weeks out of the month. Depending on our historical data, we'll determine whether or not we go heavy 1 month outside of our general schedule or on meat or sauce. But for the most part, our workers can come in, they know exactly what they're doing. When you hire day laborers, you have to restart your training every single time. That knowledge goes out the door every time that employee leaves, and it's extremely costly. So what we did is we focused on our labor, established a schedule base. We identified the slack in our production, and we automated. We automated from equipment to our systems, so that our ability to do a catering job is not predicated on when Marcus gets to his desk to provide an estimate. People should be able to pay for and schedule their catering online. The only time we should be talking to someone is when we're doing a corporate catering, because that's different and there's some customization, or a large community event. So labor, automation, production, and bankable is some of the things that we really focused on, especially in manufacturing and distribution. You got purchase orders. That's guaranteed money that's coming in. The only thing that's going to change on that is if you scale it down or scale it up. You should be able to be going to the bank for that, because you got basically a contract. Hey, I want to purchase your product, and this is when I'm going to pay you. That needs to be banking. So those are some of the things that we focused on. There's one more. So marketing, banking, staffing, and production. Those are the 4 areas that we drastically invested in and drastically improved.
I would add also, because we have a commercial kitchen, we're able to probably pivot better than a restaurant can. It's a blank canvas, right? It's just tables and oven and smokers and stuff like that. So we can do whatever we want. So, with the whole pandemic thing, we created curbside. We got real creative. I think we were like the last company to create curbside, because our team was so small. But once we did it, and it helped create cash flow for us. Some other things is we got real smart on our website sales. Really start putting things out on social media, creating a lot of buzz in that sense. So it was a constant meeting once a week on marketing, how we can move product, how we can move barbecue sauce. Who don't know about Miss Essie's? We wanted to make sure they knew about us. And I would also say getting really, really aggressive with these larger companies, in the sense of like beating down their doors. Like, hey man, we are here. We know y'all ain't all going home. There's some people in there that needs to eat, right? So that's what we did. Like we landed Costco in their essential workers. That was like all these Costco's out here in the state of Utah using Miss Essie's barbecue. That sustained us. Like, it was great, because I got a paycheck. I was good. I was happy. Deonn was happy. It was like, hey, it was like we won $1 million. So those, being creative, being flexible, I think those are the things, and being willing to change your main production to something else.
Yeah, so I've loved hearing about how you've scaled your company up and things like that. I was wondering what kind of your long-term goal or like your vision for the future you have for the company is.
Yes. So great answer. Miss Essie's has been significantly below our market threshold. So one of the things when we talk about marketing, this year we will be launching a marketing campaign. A lot of brands and a lot of products have marketing that kind of represent them. When you walk down the barbecue aisle, you don't know anything about those condiments. There's no story behind them. So one of the things that we are going to do is we're going to establish a story. A lot of our marketing is going to highlight, one, the tradition that is behind Miss Essie's, but also him and I. Like, we are a brand, just him and I together. So a lot of our marketing campaigns will be dedicated towards a story. We want people locally, when they see Miss Essie's, to feel like, I know those two guys. Like, have you met them? So that's one thing that, we are doing for the future. Another thing that we're doing is, we've been doing this since 2004. People love our catering. We have rubs. We have 6 rubs that we use on multiple different things. Why are they not on the shelves? So part of the employment is not just to help the bottom line. Marcus has to be able to create, right? Like that's what he does best. So right off of the bat, without thinking of anything, it's already done. Let's put our seasonings out for sale because we already have 6 of them that have been validated and tested. Let's go ahead and do the next lineup. We've got 4 sauces. Let's go ahead and do the all natural and launch that. Especially since we got into Whole Foods, let's keep this product, let's go with the next one. The next focus is consumer packaged goods, right? That's our big focus. That's actually the project that we did with Goldman Sachs was establishing the consumer. So we've already done the fragility test on it. We've already done the background on what that looks like and what the market is. We're just sitting on it. We're just sitting on the revenue for the seasonings. We're just sitting on the barbecue sauce, and we're just sitting on an entire consumer packaged good market. So those are some of the things that we will look to establish here in the near future, as well as there are some charitable endeavors. Me coming from Washington, D.C., and I know you guys don't know my full background, but I had a company called the Startup Nest, and we were a for-profit and a nonprofit organization, kind of like an incubator as well. Charitable endeavor is a huge sector that you cannot overlook. Being a unique minority-owned business, why are we not teaching people about food? Why are we not teaching kids about manufacturing and distribution? Why are we not offering jobs? These are things that for some of your I'll give you an example. Are you familiar with MicroStrategy? So MicroStrategy is they do business services, like, system business services, they offer that. But Michael Saylor, what he's done is he went into crypto. It's completely different from his business, right? It's an undercurrent for his business that when companies look at him in his sector, why is he a megalodon right now? Because he created an undercurrent that produces revenue. Charitable endeavor, philanthropy, nonprofit initiatives is an undercurrent that we should be able to take advantage of, because just like with James and what he was saying is there's not a lot of companies like us. I don't know any other black manufacturers and distributors. Well, I know that there's an adult that needs a job that wants to learn about this, and we should be able to do that. And there's a whole community that needs to be served. So that's kind of some of the aspects of our future.
Really,
You wouldn't have got that out of me.
really well said. I love your story. I came back from Texas a couple years ago. I lived in Fort Worth, and a year ago was like just looking everywhere online to find some really good Southern barbecue in the area, and I saw your name online. It was so sad to realize that it wasn't a storefront. It was just a catering or what I could find. So I'm just like, come on, guys, come to Provo or come to this area. But anyway, so glad to hear your story. And one of the things that I was thinking about, it seems like you have a really dynamic team as far as what you both bring, and I'm sure what other people in your team bring to balance each other out. I'm wondering about a time when you wanted to quit and what was able to keep you going. Or whatever you gotta say, but yeah, I'm sure it's been many.
No, so for me, it's I wouldn't say necessarily like I'm quitting. Now, if I got upset with Deonn, I'm like, yo, I'm firing you. Deonn be like, you gonna lose a business partner. That's what you gonna lose. I was like, so we'll go our separate ways for a little bit, and then we'll come back together. But I never really wanted to quit. It was almost the frustration. It was really the frustration of, trying to jump a hurdle and you cannot get over it, and that wall or that obstacle is you're constantly hitting it, and you're just like your shins and your knees are just getting busted up because you cannot get over the wall. So it's more like, but not. I never said I wanted to quit. Like even if I verbally said it and we had an order, I'll be in that sucker like the next day working like, that was a mistake. You misheard me, But no, hope to answer your question.
Last question. We got one online here. The question was asked similar to this is what has been one of your biggest failures, either during Miss Essie's experience or before, and what did you learn from that?
One of my biggest failures, or one of our biggest failures. Is that what the question was?
Yeah.
Oh man, there's a lot of failures. Any entrepreneur that doesn't tell you that he has a failure he's not being honest with you.
Well, we really have. We failed in I'm going to say in the past scaling, trying to scale up to where we're at now. Like right now, this is our best time to scale because everything is aligning where we need it to be. So this is the positive though. Because the product was so good and people received it, it's like, oh, we forgive you. like we'll give you another shot. I think the biggest fail if was with Nicholas and company. You know, me and my dad, Deonn, this is when Deonn just like, he really started to get ingrained into the company. And me and my dad, we could not get the order out, you know, because we didn't have any money to produce the order. I sent an email to Nicholas, oh, sorry, we just don't got the money and we can't, you know, Deonn looks at me like, dude, are you crazy? I don't even want to touch your company anymore. You send the emails out like that. And so I'm like, well, what? We really don't got the money. We can't afford to buy the product, right? And Nicholas' company said, they're just like, oh, I'm sorry. Well, okay. Well, just call us when you get ready. And so Jerry McCann, who's the buyer at the time of Nicholas' company, he calls me up, curses us out. Like, there's no tomorrow. Like, little old dude, he like this tall, like, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, man, Deonn looking at me like, you got to get this order out. And so that, to me, was a fail because I let this company, they invested a lot of time and energy in us. They invested money in us, in training their people to sell our product. And I didn't get that. You know, I didn't really understand that at all. Like, you know, how could they invest money? Man, they don't see what I see. So, but once I saw like they're really pushing our product through social media, through email, through they got sales rep. Our brokers were spending their money to represent our product, our brand. And so it took me a while to get that. So in that way, that was a fail. That was a fail falling forward. How about that? Because I saw it, I recognized it, and I changed it.
Failure to meet expectation.
Wonderful. We have one last question that we always ask our guests. What is something fun that your success has allowed you to do?
Perfect answer. We enjoy this. Thank you guys for this opportunity. Something that's fun is these types of opportunities. There's a lot of work, there's a lot of ups and downs, but at the end of the day, no business ever succeeds without people, right? Without people buying your product, coming to your show, what have you. The fun is really in the opportunity to meet new people, and the fun is in those moments when we first got into Kroger or when we first got into Whole Foods or Associated, those moments where you just feel like you're on top of the world and you know what it took to get there and you did it. They're priceless moments.
That's his answer. My answer is I want to get back into the gym because I love working out. I miss my high school body. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Like, I gained some weight over the years. Now, I do enjoy being here, 100%. I really do. But as you know, when you grow and successful, what happens when people make money? What they do? They go right to their gym. They look good. You know, they get the skinny jeans, the tight shirt. You know what I'm talking about. You know, you just be fitted all day long. And you look great. I mean, come on now. Who doesn't want to look great?
Likability.
I love it. Give us a round of applause for Deonn and Marcus.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much.